Welcome to Radical News at 6. I'm Jessica.
I'm Becky.
And I'm Kelly. Today we'd like to take time to debunk a very important issue that affects communities all over the nation, including our very own, every single day.
That's right, Kelly. Obviously, in history, sexism used to be legally ingrained and very obvious.
But what is sexism really? And is it as much of a thing as the past as we believe it to be? Folks, I've got to say, after looking over these facts, I can't believe my eyes. So how are we defining sexism?
Sexism can be defined as the systematic discrimination and oppression of a persons as gendered beings. Under this definition, women and people who identify as trans, gender non-conforming, or any other form of gender non-binary may be disadvantaged due to sexist culture.
Sexism is everywhere, which leaves us with a really big problem on our hands.
I mean, where do we even start? Let's start by looking at sexism in the media.
Just last year, when looking at the top-rated 100 films in the country, only 12 of them had female protagonists. And don't even get me started about the virtually non-existent representation of people who identify as anything besides cis.
That means that 88% of our favorite films were male-dominated. Quantitative facts aside, the way in which genders are viewed and what social roles they assume are very powerful. Female characters in these films were much more likely to be supporting others and helping people, while male characters were much more likely to have dangerous goals that were glorified, such as committing crimes and taking part in other aggressive and anti-societal actions. This sets behavioral standards for genders.
It is no wonder why we have such an epidemic of domestic violence and sexual assault against women in this country. If this is what the media encourages, violence against women is very common.
Did you know that nearly 18% of women say that they've been the victim of an attempted or completed rape?
Wow, that's a solid chunk of a college classroom, wouldn't you say?
Speaking of assault, let's talk about sexual harassment. First of all, guidelines in regards to sexual harassment were just issued in 1980, and let me just point out that was just very recent.
In a nutshell, sexual harassment is the verbal and physical advances of a sexual nature that infers unwanted sexual relations.
So how much of a problem is this really? Approximately 58% of U.S. workers have experienced at least one unwanted sexual incident in the workplace. Gender-related sexual harassment has mostly resulted in negative personal and work-related outcomes such as job dissatisfaction, depression, and PTSD, which mostly women are feeling the results from.
By the way, these issues, although represented within a binary, are in no way binary issue, especially when we talk about harassment. Think about the extent to which cisgender woman is likely to experience sexual harassment. Scary enough, right? Well, it's even scarier for the 60% of people who are gender non-conforming who have experienced sexual harassment, and the 81% of transgender people who have. This is insane and completely unacceptable.
Clearly, gender roles and stereotypes are very prominent in the workplace and is also perpetuated when it comes to the distribution of positions.
The U.S. workforce is consisted of 47% women, yet in 2009, women held less than 16% of Fortune 500 upper-level board seats and positions, including only 3% of CEO positions, and on average, female executives earn 45% less than men.
I know this is a lot of information, so what does this all mean?
Well, sexism, along with any other discriminatory ideology, is problematic due to the fact that it keeps people in social boxes. As human beings, I think we all deserve to have identical opportunities and life chances, despite our gender. Sexism holds certain people back for reasons that have no logical or constructive base besides a very pervasive social history.
Sexism holds back society in a way that its massive amount of people of our population becomes insidiously without power or choice, which leads to these harsh consequences. So what can we do?
Talk about it. It starts with understanding these problems, learning to narrow in on them, and identify them as a result of a patriarchy. It starts with becoming aware and is continued by living a life that challenges these ideas and actively works against them.
And we know that you're up to the challenge. Thanks for listening, and good night.